Hi, and welcome to Cover Brand, where we cover all things branding, marketing, and advertising to help you understand what the hell branding is and how it works to grow your business. Welcome and welcome back to Cover Brand. I'm Ethan Decker, your host, and I am thrilled to have my friend Shez on this show. Shez, how are you?
I am excellent. What's up, Ethan? It's great to be here. Good to
Oh my
see you.
God, it's been ages since I
I
saw you
know.
when we did that LinkedIn Live together on multisensory branding.
That was a fun one. It was.
I know it's not been ages. It's been a week, maybe two, something like that.
Yeah, a couple weeks. It's been
Yeah.
fun. Yeah.
Yeah. So you wanted to talk about how to stand out, how to stick out, but give us some background. Tell the folks who don't know you a little bit about you and about your company.
Sure. So I fell into the world of marketing, branding, and advertising kind of by accident. I went to school for economics and I was a finance nerd and was going to go and do my MBA at a big bank and go down that path. But I decided to quit and I focused on DJing and I was collecting records since I was 12 years old. And I
Banking
took
wasn't
this
the scene for
it
you.
wasn't the thing for me, no, and I took this passion and love affair that I had with vinyl and mixing and scratching records and turntables, and I pursued it, and listen, it worked out. I traveled the world about 8 times over between the ages of 18 to 22, and I got to play all kinds of events in all kinds of cities and all kinds of countries, and realized how humanity worked. And I was the guy controlling the vibes and energy in those spaces and places at a given time for, crowds of 200, sometimes 2000. And often
Nice.
these people didn't speak the language. They didn't speak English, which is, my language. And
Mhm.
it was a different culture. And there were so many barriers, yet I was able to break through and resonate and connect and have this exchange of energy and this conversation through music and sound with these people all
Yes,
over the
the
world.
universal language of music.
Yeah, yeah, so that was my perspective, that was my sort of epiphany where I had the moment of realization where I said, "Huh, this is powerful stuff," and as I took off my DJ hat and I thought about, how I would approach this love affair with sound and music and what I might be able to do with it, I realized that in the world of marketing and branding and communications, the very thing people want to do with humans is connect and resonate and have this reciprocal exchange of energy, and they weren't using sound and music as a tool to do
Right.
that, and
Right.
so that's, where I decided to focus my energy in about 2010 and have built a few businesses around that premise and that ethos, that
Around
sound and
helping brands connect with customers via sound.
That's right. Yeah,
Yeah.
sound and experiences and how sound plays into the overarching experience. It can't just be something that you think about at the very last second, at the 11th hour, but, to
Right.
put sound, um, as make it as part of the strategy when you're building an event, when you're building an experience, when you're launching a
Right.
product, when you're rewarding your employees, like
Yep.
all of the things, right? And that was a unique
Yeah.
differentiating positioning I took back then about 15 years ago, and that's been a fun journey. I worked with all kinds of different companies, B2C, B2B,
Have
startup,
you have you
Fortune
ever
1000.
done any bathroom sound design?
Yeah, I saw your post actually on LinkedIn, where there was nothing playing and there was no visual
Ugh,
of like
it was a big, marble box of a restroom for,
mhm,
it could fit easily 20 or 30 guys. There was no sound dampening, no acoustic softening, there wasn't like even Kenny G. I would take Kenny G,
anything. Yeah.
anything,
Yeah,
and
no,
not
we
only
do
that.
that at
Right.
one of my companies at Reina. We do music, right, for
Mhm.
these spaces and places, and they typically have different zones. So, the bathroom might be treated as one zone within the context of
Right.
a resort or another property. And so these are all the things that we think about is like, well, how does the lobby feel when someone walks in? How does the Japanese restaurant feel? How does the steakhouse feel? How does the
Right.
washroom feel? How does the washroom in the steakhouse feel? How does
Yes.
the washroom in the Japanese restaurant
Because so
feel?
many folks, just like you said, they look at how it looks. They look at how it looks because 'cause they're looking at it, and they
Sure.
don't think of how it sounds. And a bathroom itself, as I said in that post, it was a silly little moment, but when you're in the bathroom, it should be a little private. It should be a little screened. You don't want
Yeah,
everyone hearing all of your business, and
exactly.
And so a little bit of music or a white noise machine or something, a
Something.
fan.
Yeah.
Sometimes when you go to someone's house and you're using the bathroom, it's such a relief to see that they have
An
2
exhaust fan.
switches,
Yeah.
2 switches next to the door, one with a fan, and it goes and it's just a beautiful white noise that covers up it gives you privacy. It
Right.
creates a space.
But people don't think about these things,
No.
and they spend
No.
billions of dollars building these,
Yep. Beautiful.
marble restrooms
Yep.
and all of these things, and, I was at a theme park the other day, with my kids, and one of the roller coasters we were waiting for had such a long line, and there
Nothing to
was
do.
nothing happening during the
Well,
lineup,
Disney
and
has figured that out for sure.
I know
They
they
make the
have.
line as entertaining well, almost as entertaining as
It's
the
part of the experience, right? It's
Yes,
anticipation, it's,
yes,
like, getting you excited to go on
yeah,
the ride,
but
and
those
then
restrooms, man, they have crappy sound design,
yeah,
literally.
so,
Literally.
I and my teams across these various ventures, we think about these boring, mundane moments,
Mhm.
as part of a brand story and a brand's
Yeah,
experience, and, we solve for that, we solve
that's
for
great.
boring things that most people are overlooking, and again, it's all sort of attributed to my DJ career in a
That's
previous
so
life,
great.
and so I'm really grateful for that perspective.
Do you ever
I
get to put
traveled
in
the
little
world.
Easter eggs, little things from your past, like Tribe Called Quest or whatever it is you loved
Absolutely,
and
and that's the fun part,
yeah,
right? It's like, if you can take on all those records I collected, from my
right,
youth and all of those gems, and a lot of that stuff is, like, not on Spotify. No
right.
AI algorithm or agent is gonna be able to
Find that
dig it up.
alternative Tunisian hip hop group you found
Yeah, and
22 years ago.
that's part of the differentiation. It's like, okay, we wanna feel like this music and this space is on brand, but
Yeah,
now let's, like, open the aperture up a little bit and think about how we can do that, and I think, I'm not involved in the weeds these days on curation and stuff, but that's our approach is like, we
yeah,
empower our teams to think a little bit differently and to stay on brand, but do things that others aren't because,
right.
with this stuff when it's going well and it feels right, it's seamless and nobody
Yeah.
notices.
So let's talk about that because on the one hand, you want things to feel familiar or kind of the same as other places. Like, I don't know that you want to walk into a bathroom and have it be blaring, Quiet Riot, you know? And so there are limits or there's a range, but on the other hand, you don't wanna walk into your 15th store during the holiday season. I think you're up in Toronto, right?
That's right.
And I'm down here in Boulder, and you don't wanna walk into your 15th store during the holiday season and hear Mariah Carey singing, All I Want for Christmas Again or
Yeah,
whatever.
9 is about my limit. I can hear her 9 times in a row and I start
That's that's
breaking.
7 times more than my limit with
Well, you know what they do to prisoners of war, right? They lock them up in a box and blast death metal or,
yeah,
it's like sound and music can also be
yep.
used for torture
Yes.
and so we don't think about these things, but it
No.
all kind of
Well,
ladders
some
up,
of
right?
us do, Shez. I
I
when
know.
I wanna torture my kids, I put on jazz, bop, hard bop.
Nice. Nice.
Hard bop from the '50s,
There
and
you
it
go.
drives them pretty much crazy, and then I if I want them to leave, they leave.
Fair.
Yeah,
Fair.
yeah. But in terms of, standing out,
Mm.
talk about these clients of yours and the struggle they have, this balance between doing what people expect or the norms for the category or things like that, and then how to stand out. What are you hearing in terms of the issue there?
There's a few things. So the big clients that we work with, Fortune 1000s that are dumping, millions, sometimes hundreds of millions on paid media, on advertising in a traditional sense,
Yep.
and not just the media spend, they're then engaging other AORs, ad agencies, creative agencies to make the stuff that they're putting media dollars behind. So,
Right.
so much goes into like the location scouting and this and that and the
Yep.
production and the talent and blah, 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 blah.
Takes a village to make an ad.
Sure. And then they go and serve it, and, like, no one's watching the freaking ad, everyone's on their phone during the commercial breaks, right?
Yep.
And so, it's trying to shake their head and get them out of the weeds and say, "Listen, like, this is all great, wonderful ad. You got that huge celebrity, congrats. but what are you actually doing to pull people's eyes off of their other device
Mhm.
to get them to watch the ad you're
Yeah.
serving, right? And
Yeah.
that's where the conversation begins. It's really the antithesis of what people are used to doing and making them at a strategic level, usually with a chief marketing officer or a chief strategy officer, sometimes VPs, like
Mhm.
asking them these hard questions that no one on their team is
Yeah.
asking them. At the agency side, they're not asking their client these questions,
Sure.
but
Well, what's interesting is how these big companies, and I've worked with a lot of these too, right? Large companies that have large groups of marketing uh, agencies and associations or organizations helping them, and they make an ad that they think is good, and or the agency pitches an ad which they think is stellar, and then by the time it's released, a lot of the sharp corners are rounded off, and a lot of the bright spots are dulled a little bit. So it's good, it's nice, but it's a nice ad, let's
hmm,
say. And they think it passes muster because it passes some pre-testing criteria or something like that, or they think it's on brand, which they think is sufficient. But as you're saying, a lot of those ads are unnoticed and forgettable and
absolutely.
forgotten. And we see that over and over, that so many really big established companies putting millions on ads behind their ads make stuff that's pretty milk toast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we try and fix that on their behalf and work with the brand and their AOR. Like we play nice with everybody,
Yeah.
but we pull up a chair to the table, often a table that we weren't invited to because listen, like no one is not no one, but more often than not, people and clients are not thinking about and thus not briefing what I help them fix and my teams help them fix,
Yeah.
what we help them fix. And so it is a very proactive conversation. We're poking the bear. We're constantly challenging these
Yeah.
leaders that are stewarding these brands and organizations to say, "Hey, this is all well and good, but have you considered this? Have you thought about
Yeah.
this? What happens when you close your eyes or someone is not paying attention? How
Right.
do they remember your brand?
Right.
Close your eyes, most of the world's brands disappear."
Here's an example I know we talked about recently.
Mhm.
To contrast two companies. One, um, Arby's, which lately has a great campaign that most people know of, mostly because the tagline is yelled at you at the end of every ad. Arby's, we have the meats. Like you can hear it in your mind once I start going. And I've
Mhm.
done this in big groups and conferences where I'll say, Arby's, we have, and everybody completes the
The
phrase, the
meats, yeah.
meats. And even if you're in a different room, if you're looking at your phone during it, for sure it's an Arby's ad because it
Mhm.
sounds like it, and it's incredibly memorable, and it's extremely well branded because you don't think McDonald's, we have the meats.
Right.
No one thinks that. On the other hand, I've worked with Domino's, great company, fantastic advertising, but no one knows that Domino's actually has a slogan.
Slogan, right.
Nobody knows that.
Yeah.
And it's been at the end, it's the cue card, the final card, whatever it's called,
Mhm.
for so many of their fantastic ads, but nobody knows it exists because it was never said out loud.
Yep. We think about what we see,
Yep.
but we feel what we hear,
Yeah.
and that is that's what I'm bringing to these companies. I'm saying, "Do you want people to feel something? Do you
Yep.
want them to feel your brand?" Not
Yep.
just in the washroom or the restroom or the property level, but when you're serving an ad, when they're using your app,
Yep.
there's Honk Mobile here where I am locally. It's a parking meter app.
Mhm.
And so, when the meter is about to run out, I get an alert on my phone, and it's a really well-designed alert to remind me, not in a jarring way, but
Uh-huh.
somewhat of a, "Hey, Shez, your meter's about to run
Oh, so
out."
it's a sound,
It's a sound.
a specific sound. It's not
I
just
mean, there's a timer, but, like,
the
I'm
default
doing other
timer
things.
sound.
I'm doing other things, so I'm
Right.
not looking, and that's the whole point. So,
Yeah.
even thinking about, like, the user experience from a software point of view. right?
Yeah.
This isn't about advertising anymore. I'm already a customer. I'm using the product. I'm using the meter. I'm using the
Yep.
app to pay.
Yep.
What happens when there's 10 minutes or 5 minutes left? How are you cutting
What's the
through?
sound? What does it sound like?
Um, I can't do it justice, but it's it's like an alert that
Uh-huh.
is kinda sorta jarring, but they've shaped it in a way where my cortisol is not spiking. So it's like,
Uh-huh.
"Oh, oh yeah, okay." And so, it prompts me to then take action to, like, replenish the meter, extend
Right.
my time, and that's kind of the point here is it doesn't have to be about slapping logos and Sonic logos on end cards for McDonald's and
Yep.
Domino's and Netflix. Like, those are the table stakes because those people are spending a lot of money, there's a lot of viewers, and so a Sonic logo will, get the attention and cut through, but
Sure.
what about that boring mobile payment app to pay your parking meter?
Right.
There's still an opportunity there,
Even
right?
that, and then it's a known sound. It's kinda like, for a while, I think the number 1 most well-known song in the world was "Bididoo bididoo bididoo boo."
Nokia?
Yeah,
Yeah,
the
and that
Nokia
was,
ringtone.
public domain.
Yeah,
So, they didn't even that's a great example because they didn't even make that or pay for that. They
yep,
took it, used it, and made it part of their brand ethos, and
yep,
just because of the, adoption of the technology and them, pioneering things back then with cell phone usage,
mhm,
everyone heard it at scale repeatedly. That was,
yeah,
like, the default, and so the
yep,
association, even though they didn't make it, it wasn't brand owned, it was a public domain
right.
recording, they made it their own.
So 2 things I think we're hitting at. One is if you have a brand or if you want to build or grow or improve your brand, it's probably pretty smart to think about how your brand sounds, not just how your brand looks. If you have ads, it's probably pretty important not just to think about how your ads look, but how your ads sound. That's a huge step, and a lot of brands don't even do that.
It's especially today in
Yeah,
2025. I
yeah,
mean,
it's crazy.
like print had its heyday and it's still very
Mm.
important, but
Oh,
fewer and fewer.
I love me a billboard, man. A
Yeah, I
good
do too.
billboard,
And I
killer.
grew up in the era of like Transworld Skateboarding and The
Yep,
Source. I used to
yep.
have all those magazines and I used to read all those ads. And actually, I ordered my first set of turntables from the back off a Source mag. So, like,
Nice,
the advertising worked. I saw the
nice.
images, I called
Yep,
the phone number, and I placed an order. But today, I mean, people are just consuming not just advertising, but they're consuming the world around them in a
yep,
completely different way. And this always on world of technology and the ad is a social media ad or this or that.
yep,
It's like, you can choose to think about it because you're making noise one way or another, and it's better to be, um, like, you don't wanna be noisy for the sake of
sure.
being noisy,
Well, then
right?
that gets us to that second point, which is you can put out an ad you think is nice, or you can do some marketing or some brand work that you think is fine, but you the way I've seen the data, fine is actually crappy.
Yeah.
Like most ads, here's how I phrase it. 90% of ads are below average, which it's a statistical joke, but the point is most ads are terrible. Most ads are not remembered. Most ads are not noticed. And similarly, brand experiences like your app experience.
Mhm.
Most app experiences are completely forgettable
Mhm.
and they don't even have sound design. And if they do
Roller
have sound
coaster
design, it's
lines.
just
Yeah.
the default sounds and blips and clicks.
Mhm.
And so, step one, if you even think about sonic experiences and the sound of your brand, you're probably going to be ahead of the pack. And then,
Absolutely.
second, if you really want to stand out, if you bring any kind of quality and any kind of originality to it, you're going to have a much better chance of it being not crap.
Yep. I've
Yeah.
spoken to a lot of, heads of production and people in charge of making the stuff and
Yeah.
then giving it back so that agency can ship it or the brand can ship it. And like lately people are like, "Oh yeah, like it's good enough. It's good enough." I'm like, "Did you get into this business of creativity
Yeah.
to aspire to be just good enough or like it's fine?" Because
Yep.
if that's the case, like we're not meant to work together. We don't do
Yeah.
just good enough. Like
Yeah.
That's not our sandbox. And yeah, there was a client in 2021 during COVID, a big publicly traded company. We did a whole sonic identity project for. And at first, we were getting some pushback at the C level with some stakeholders. And then in the competitive research aspect, we looked at, a number of their competitors, and we
Mhm.
found specific examples of the competitive set all using the same music in their ads and
Yes,
their explainer videos. And we
that's a
said,
huge trap.
here's what the competition is doing. Do you
Let's do the
want
same.
do you wanna, do you wanna do the same thing? And
Right.
that was kind of a big wake up call for them to say, "Heck no, we wanna be ourselves.
Good.
We wanna be our brand," right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, great talking with you.
Always a pleasure, my friend. Appreciate it.
Yeah, I'm so glad we did that multisensory branding workshop. I look forward to more workshops with you. Good luck with your clients, and we'll be in touch soon.
Awesome. Thanks, Ethan. Take good care.
Cheers. So listen, brand science works best when it's a team sport. If you want your crew rowing in the same direction, call me to learn more about workshops, trainings, and talks, oh my, for your company. Head to appliedbrandscience.com to learn more. Oh, you're still here. So am I. Look at that. The show's ended, but yet here we are. Look, if you've come this far, you're the best. And to thank you for being the best, we'd love to send you some Frelk and Science AF stickers. So if you'd like some, send your mailing address, of course, your name too, and also your favorite superhero to info@appliedbrandscience.com, and we'll hook you up.